Everyone wants to feel like they're the best at something. But when that belief turns into taking others for granted, the universe might just teach you a lesson. Understanding there's always someone better out there is the key to humility. That's what truly makes the strongest person. My name is Mia. I've been married to my husband Thomas for 2 years. When we decided to get married, Thomas mentioned he had a troublesome sister who might end up being a burden to me. I was an only child and thrilled at the idea of having a sister. But Thomas's words also made me anxious and curious about what kind of trouble she could be. Now, 2 years into our marriage, I fully understand and have experienced what Thomas meant. I was born into a relatively wealthy family. My father runs a mid-sized trading company and is well-informed and progressive in his thinking. My parents always respected my decisions, providing an environment where I could freely experience and explore my interests. The 2008 Lehman Brothers collapse. I was an 11-year-old elementary school student at the time. Intrigued by the significant impact this event had on the world and Japan, I was fascinated by how a disruption in the flow of funds could cause such a global panic. This led me to start researching financial circulation. I've always been naturally curious and apparently quite intelligent. Noticing something different about me, my parents had me take an IQ test, and the results were beyond the normal range. As I delved into this newfound interest, many aspects became clear, but my curiosity never waned. Throughout middle and high school, I continued to research this topic, and in college, I chose a major that would allow me to deepen my understanding. As I learned more, I became eager to apply my knowledge and decided to try day trading. It was my professor who suggested that day trading was a great way to experience capital flow firsthand, but warned that it required careful management to avoid debt. I researched extensively, identifying statistically favorable stocks for day trading. The capital was the modest sum of all the allowance I had saved up. Day trading involves buying and selling the same stock within the same day, or starting with the sale and then buying it back before the day ends, without carrying the position over to the next day. This means results come quickly. My predictions were spot on, and though the increase was modest, my funds grew. By repeating this process and gradually increasing my investment, I managed to grow the initial amount by more than 50 times in a year. It was a significant sum since the original amount was small, but I wasn't sure how impressive this achievement was on a larger scale. Actually, that wasn't my main concern. What mattered to me was whether the answers I'd come up with through research were correct. In the university seminar I attended, there was a student named Thomas. He was well known for his analytical skills, and we often found ourselves agreeing on many topics, which led us to become close. After graduation, I had planned to join my father's company. Thomas had pinpointed a job at a foreign investment firm. On the day of our graduation ceremony at the subsequent celebration, Thomas confessed his feelings to me, and I immediately said yes. I had always found his intelligence comforting, and his understanding nature made me feel at ease around him. As we both embarked on our new journeys, gaining experiences, our relationship grew stronger. I was inspired by the concept of trade at my father's company and worked on researching foreign companies to gain an advantage in negotiations and build a solid foundation for our deals. Thomas, with his innate analytical skills, began to identify profitable investment opportunities, contributing significantly to his company and earning high praise internally. Despite our busy schedules, we continued to go on dates, refreshing each other before immersing ourselves back in work. We had become each other's support system. 5 years into our relationship, we were both deeply engrossed in our exciting careers. By this time, we had become indispensable to each other, and it seemed like the right moment to move on to the next step.
I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Mia. Will you marry me?
I didn't hesitate for a moment to accept Thomas's proposal. I couldn't wait to start our life together. When it was time for a family meeting, Thomas said there was something he needed to tell me.
There's something about Alice, my sister. You should know. She's a bit difficult and might cause you some discomfort or inconvenience.
Thomas had a sister named Alice, 2 years younger than him, known for being a bit challenging. According to Thomas, Alice had always been exceptionally bright from a young age. Though Thomas himself was considered a prodigy, Alice was even more so, making them a famously remarkable pair in their neighborhood. As Alice grew up, she was seeing others as foolish and began to look down on them. Even Thomas, her brother, was inspired from her scorn, as she believed herself to be superior due to a competitive spirit. When Thomas enrolled in a top-tier university, Alice chose a different, but equally prestigious institution, boasting that hers was actually the better one. She competed with Thomas even in her career, joining a rival investment and consulting firm claiming to master the art of investment. However, her attitude of always placing herself above others meant she had no close friends. And seemingly without a significant other, she appeared to harbor some insecurities about that, although she never showed it, always putting on a brave face. Her stance was that no man was good enough for her. Thomas was worried that his engagement might wound Alice's pride since she always had to compete with him. He was concerned about how she might react in her attempt to prove herself stronger. I tried to reassure Thomas with a light-hearted, "It's okay," but his worries seemed endless. This made me even more curious about his intense sister. I finally met the infamous Alice at a family meeting. Her sharp, intelligent beauty was unmistakable. Though she seemed cold, whether that was just her nature or my preconceived notions, I wasn't sure. Thomas's parents were kind and humorous, making me feel at ease about getting along with them. Apart from the initial greeting, Alice didn't speak, simply eating her meal while watching me as if assessing me. After the meeting, as everyone was leaving, Alice pulled me aside.
I wondered what kind of person you'd be. But you're nothing special, are you? Just a girl who got a job at her parents' company and is probably slacking off.
I was stunned and didn't know how to respond when she continued.
I move large amounts of money and make significant profits. I'm on a completely different level than you. Thomas, settling for someone like you is disappointing. Today's gain is realizing how much you're not up to my standard.
Alice left the room after her piece, leaving me there. Thomas came back, noticing I hadn't left with Alice. He looked worried and asked if something had happened. I replied with a laugh, saying it was just a minor jab, to which he apologized for Alice's rudeness.
I'm not bothered at all. It didn't hurt. But I wonder what will happen at the wedding the next time we meet.
Strangely, I was looking forward to it.
Ah, that'll be interesting, I said, to which Thomas looked surprised.
Our wedding was a grand affair, attended by family, friends, and colleagues from both sides. Thomas and I pledged our eternal love and enjoyed a wonderful time with our guests. But Alice seemed grumpy and irritated right from the start. I had heard from Thomas that Alice had neither friends nor a romantic partner, so I could somewhat guess her feelings, which I found slightly amusing. During a break for a wardrobe change, while I was waiting for the staff to help me dress, Alice came in, seemingly without reason.
This happiness of yours is only for today. A plain woman like you won't get the spotlight after this. You're just gonna leech off Thomas's earnings, aren't you? I can't understand how anyone could be satisfied with that. I, on the other hand, have climbed up on my own. I'm on a completely different level. I'll find someone even better than Thomas and have an even grander wedding.
After her rapid-fire monologue, a self-satisfied Alice left without giving me a chance to respond. The staff walked in just as Alice left, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter at the timing. I apologized to the puzzled staff and started changing. Alice really knew how to keep things interesting. Both Thomas and I were busy with work on weekdays, but we made the most of our weekends, enjoying our time together to the fullest. Since the wedding, I had no contact with Alice. I thought I might see her next at Christmas when visiting my in-laws, but an unexpected connection with Alice arose sooner. My father decided to seek external consulting for asset preservation and expansion at his company. I offered to handle it, but he wanted to bring in outside expertise and choose a particular firm. When I heard the company's name, it felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. I was appointed by my father to negotiate with this consulting firm. At the first meeting, I was shocked to see Alice among the representatives. Then I remembered the company name was familiar because it was Alice's. Alice seemed surprised to see me too, but quickly regained her composure and greeted me. It became an unspoken agreement that we would act as if we were meeting for the first time, keeping our sister-in-law relationship a secret from the other team members. When I told Thomas about it at home, he surprisingly already knew. Alice had called him.
This is ridiculous. I can't work with her. She was just complaining.
He suggested I might want to step away from the project, but I found the situation amusing and laughed it off. I couldn't just indulge my amusement. I had to be professional. I pointed out the flaws and inadequacies in their proposals. My counter-arguments, backed by perfect logical reasoning, unsettled them. Alice tried to fight back with past examples and mathematical evidence, but my counters hit their weak points, leaving them silent. The meeting ended in my favor, with the other team agreeing to come up with a second proposal for the next meeting. After they left and I was relaxing with a coffee, I received a phone call meant for me. Answering the phone, it was Alice.
Today you might have gotten the better of me, but I won't let it end like this. Someone as excellent as me can't be bested by you. You're just running wild, carrying everything on your own, Alice. You need to rely on your colleagues and work together to make progress. What gives you the right to lecture me? I don't need guidance from someone like you. Just you wait.
With that parting shot, she hung up. I burst out laughing with the phone still in my hand, drawing curious glances from a colleague nearby. After that, I took full control of the meetings. The pattern continued, with their teams scrambling to respond to my points, often cornered into a defensive position. Alice tried desperately for a comeback, but she always fell a step short, her frustration plainly visible. She was barely keeping her composure as a professional. I'm sure she'd be screaming if she lost control. When I told Thomas about it, he said, Alice has never been outdone by anyone before. Plus, Mom told me Alice found out that a guy she liked already had a girlfriend, and she got rejected before even confessing. That's probably adding to her irritation. I couldn't help but let out a surprise. But I couldn't help but let out a surprised huh and stifle my laughter.
The consulting project finally came to a successful conclusion. The opposing team leader thanked us, saying they learned a lot, and we all dispersed. As everyone left, Alice and I ended up alone.
I'm not satisfied with how things went. I'll make sure to get the better of you next time. But just so you know, I am more excellent. I even bought a tower mansion at my age. Only someone as outstanding as me could afford a brand new tower mansion.
Alice had debuted as an investor, and through her success managed to earn enough to buy a tower mansion. We'll toast among the elites, looking down on the commoners below. You, as one of those ordinary people, should just look up and despair.
Alice left after saying her piece as usual.
Thomas confirmed that what Alice said was true. She had indeed found success as an investor and recently bought a tower mansion to live on her own. Alice is undeniably talented, and such an achievement was probably within her reach. Of course, luck played a part, but I genuinely wanted to congratulate her. A few days later, on the weekend, I had some business at a tower mansion. As I stopped at a certain mid-level floor, a door opened and a resident stepped out. The resident and I locked eyes and both exclaimed in surprise. The person was Alice.
Why are you here if you're not invited to the party? Did you come to clean?
It seemed that today was the day of Alice's celebrity home party she had mentioned.
Not at all. I'm here to deliver something to an acquaintance on this floor.
You have an acquaintance here? And you came down from where? Well, my home is on the top floor of this mansion. Naturally, I had to come down. What are you talking about? You and Thomas live in a single-story house, don't you? How can you have a home here?
You know, Thomas can't handle heights. That's why our house is single-story. This place is my office and workshop.
Your workshop is on the top floor of a tower mansion? Don't joke like that.
This is mine, so why shouldn't I use the top floor?
You mean this whole place is yours? Don't be ridiculous.
As we argued loudly in the hallway, a voice behind us asked, Alice, what's going on?
Alice turned and said, I'm just showing my friend around my new tower mansion. Sorry, Senior.
The woman who had spoken and 3 other women looked at us with concern.
Seniors, I apologize for not greeting you downstairs. I was just dealing with...
Alice seemed at a loss for words. Then the woman Alice called Senior looked at me, searching her memory, and exclaimed in surprise.
Aren't you?
Confused, Alice asked what was wrong, to which the senior replied,
Don't you know? This is Mrs. Mia, our new external board director, starting this month.
Alice was speechless at this unexpected revelation, and the senior continued,
Also, she's known as the investment goddess whom Alice admires.
Alice clearly couldn't comprehend what was being said. I had started day trading as a student, and as it progressed well, I moved on to more serious investing. I used my day trading earnings and gradually learned investment strategies through practice. My analytical and research skills helped me pinpoint companies with growth potential, and I invested precisely. The funds I managed grew rapidly. My father gave me freedom to use a piece of land he owned in the city center, so I used my accumulated funds to start building a tower mansion. With the trend of mansion investments, I wanted to understand what it was all about. So this tower mansion is the result of my efforts. Managing a mansion is more challenging than it seems. The income comes from rent, but maintenance costs and taxes are higher than expected. Furthermore, if even a few tenants delay their payments, it can shake the foundation of smooth management. In fact, Alice, despite being a recent tenant, was already at high risk of delayed rent payments. And regarding being called the investment goddess, that seems to be a recent label for me. It was coined due to my extraordinary success in investments, but hearing that Alice admired me was a surprise. Alice was too stunned to keep up with the unfolding situation.
That's why my room is on the top floor here. I own a significant share of your company, which made me a board director.
Alice was overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events.
Moreover, Alice, while extremely talented, has a poor reputation regarding teamwork and attitude towards colleagues. If she can't improve, she can't continue working in her current role.
Alice was already knocked out by the harsh reality, kneeling and collapsed on the floor. Later, Thomas told me that Alice, once a fierce wolf, had become a small dog. It seems she finally understood there's always someone above her. I never really cared about Alice's antics, knowing we were on different levels. But looking back, I do feel a bit guilty for finding it all so amusing. Reflecting on my previous attitude, I realized I still have a lot to learn. Alice, having stepped back from the limelight, now has reduced income and a string of losses in investments. Her ability to pay rent for her tower mansion apartment is increasingly compromised. I'm planning to issue an eviction notice if the rent arrears continue for another 2 months. People's abilities vary, and even similar skills can differ in levels. Alice has become a lesson for me to never underestimate anyone and to treat others with respect. Thomas apologizes for not being more involved in these events, but it's not his responsibility at all. His concern shows his good nature, and I love him all the more for it. My current hope is to start a family with Thomas soon. I can't wait to enjoy life as a family of 3. If Alice changes her mindset and broadens her perspective, she'll surely find friends and a partner soon. One night I had a dream.
A family of 3? No. By the end of next year, you'll be a family of 5. There are triplets in the Cabbage Patch.
I woke up sweating but couldn't help laughing at the prospect.